Good morning, everyone. I hope you can all hear me okay, and thanks for joining us for another Workshop Wednesday. As usual, your questions take priority, although we have a bit of a set agenda. Don't let that deter you from asking whatever questions you may have about anything to do with not even just the stuff that we're talking about, but maybe anything that's just on your mind and you need help with. We will try to share your questions both verbally and in the chat. Today, before we begin here, I got a couple announcements. So this, not this upcoming Sunday, but the one after that, September 1st. Actually, I believe that's a Saturday. On September 1st, on Saturday, we are going to be hosted by NinjaTrader for a special webinar, which is going to be an introduction to Bloodhound. So those of you that are new to Bloodhound and still just trying to figure out if this is a product that can help you out, that's a great one to attend. The announcement will go out with NinjaTrader's announcements, I believe, next week. I'm not exactly sure what day they send them out, but do look for that in your email if you haven't already joined the NinjaTrader mailing list. And that will take place at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday, September 1st. A couple announcements as well. 1.06 is in beta right now. Right now, 1.05 is available for download on the website. And those of you that have purchased Bloodhound or even in trial, you can update your Bloodhound anytime just using the download link on our website. Whether you paid for it or you're still a trial user, the file is actually the same physical file. So whether you download it there or you take it from an email link that we've given you, it's the same file. Bloodhound, again, licenses itself using machine ID. So don't be deterred by thinking that the file on the website is a trial version or something like that only. It is indeed both versions, actually. So 1.06 is in beta, and those of you that have bought Bloodhound already have received a link, I think earlier this week, downloading the beta version of 1.06, and those of you that are in trial and are interested in trying 1.06, just send us a support request on our website. The difference, the big addition that we've got in 1.06, and we'll probably be demoing this next week or the week after, is that 1.06 now supports the NinjaTrader ATM strategy. So if you sort of imagine here, you can now create your Bloodhound strategies, or sorry, Bloodhound logic, and say use Bloodhound to do your entries, and then say you've got a NinjaTrader ATM money management strategy that you like and that you've been using manually or what have you, you can now attach it to Bloodhound's entries, and you can still use Bloodhound as the exit logic as well, but now you have a lot more control over how you manage your trades. So you can now use NinjaTrader's ATM system to manage your trades. So the NinjaTrader ATM, if you're not familiar with that, there's some fantastic webinars that NinjaTrader puts out every week. But basically, they allow you to do things like trail your stops in sort of conditional manners, set different profit targets, even use a graduated, say you have 5 contracts you put on at once, and you want to take 2 off after a certain profit target, and then leave 3 on to leave running for just in case you got a big trend. Basically, the NinjaTrader ATM can be quite easily programmed to do that. And now, with 1.06, you can now use those NinjaTrader ATMs with Bloodhound. So you can imagine you have a fully automated trading system, Bloodhound specifying your entries using Bloodhound's logic, and then using NinjaTrader's ATM to take it from there. So before we begin, let me just first of all point out that we have a disclaimer up there, and hope you had a quick chance to read it. But we're going to run a little poll here just to get a idea of where you guys stand in terms of your experience with Bloodhound and or NinjaTrader. And that way we can customize and tailor the presentation a little better for you today. Pat here had a quick question there and asking if APA zones is supported working with Bloodhound. Now Bloodhound will work with all third-party indicators that have, I guess, allowed strategies or other indicators to read their data because without getting too technical, basically a NinjaTrader has specified kind of a set way for indicators to share information with each other. And if the third-party indicator that you're talking about supports this sort of standard method of communication, then Bloodhound can pick it up and can use it within its logic and whatnot. If it doesn't, like unfortunately APA zones does not, then Bloodhound will not be able to read its data. And I would submit as well, no other strategy or indicator would be able to read it as well. Okay, so we have, looks like the vast majority of you are actually new to Bloodhound, but are familiar with NinjaTrader, so that's great. So let's, I'm going to pass the mic over to Zach, who's going to take it away. So today we're going to go over 3 more, if we can, solvers. Last week we went over the first 3 solvers. And those of you that are brand new here, you can think of solvers like basically as building blocks to your Bloodhound system, and they're necessary for they're kind of like inspectors, I guess you could say. They're not quite like indicators, but they're more like inspectors because they look at your chart, they inspect it for and analyze for different different characteristics. And included in that is maybe the ability to analyze the characteristics of an indicator. So, thinking about like analyzing maybe the slope of an indicator, or maybe the behavior of an indicator, as in is it crossing over another one, or is price crossing above or below it, things like that. So, a solver is a basic building block of a Bloodhound system, and we're just going to continue with the next 3 solvers in the list here. So. Without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to my partner, Zach.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. Hey guys, welcome. Welcome to another workshop. And I'm just waiting for my screen to update here. And I should be projecting in just a moment. So it looks like more than half of you guys are new to Bloodhound, so I will take it slow for you guys and kind of step through things from the very beginning. I guess just a quick note back to Pat here. We've had another customer ask about APA zones. And we did talk with the owner of APA zones to try and get his indicator compatible with Bloodhound. So Pat, I just asked that more customers from APA zones that keep asking him to make his product compatible with Bloodhound. Definitely, the more willing he is to do that. So we kind of left it in his hands. So if you would talk to him, and if you know other people who are using his product, have them send in that request as well. So, and we'd be glad to work with them again. All right. You can see I have a chart up here, and I just have one indicator I had left on it. So I'm going to start from scratch here. So Bloodhound is an indicator. So we'll pull up the indicator window, of course. And Bloodhound is under SI. So if you go down to your S's, and you'll see all of these SI products. So SI is for shark indicators. So there's the bloodhound. I'll double click it, add it to the chart, and as I add it to the chart, you'll see there's this template field here, and when I click in this field, you'll see a button appears. I can click on that button, and then that brings up the bloodhound window. And so you can see in this, I'm just trying to figure out if I'm running, let's see what version. Oh, okay, looks like I'm demoing version 1.6 for you guys. So, all right, so back to the interface here. So you can see there's a chart button here. This chart button allows you to add higher time frames or lower time frames, just a secondary time frame if that's a part of your trading system. And and you can see I have all the bar types on here. And another new feature of 1.06 is you can use custom bar types, like this custom bar type here. So we're currently testing that and making sure everything's working good. So let me just put this on a just a standard 10-minute. I don't think I'll use this alternate time frame, but just to show you guys. And then up here we have the file pull-down menu. So this right here is the most recent, the most 20 recent templates that are in your template folder. So this is kind of like this is a recents list. So you can just quickly grab a template, or if you need to look at all of them, of course, you know, we have the open, and that'll show you your whole list of templates that are in there. And to give it a name, so since we don't have a name, so we have an unnamed template file right now. To give it a name, I'm going to hit the change button, and essentially the change button is kind of like doing a save as. So if I already had a template up here with a name and I wanted to do some experimenting, but I didn't want to mess up my kind of like my master template, I wanted to work on an alternate or a backup template, you know, I could hit the change button and change the name, and it keeps all your solvers there, and all it does is change the name. That way you can keep a copy, kind of like keep a copy, and then work on a different version. So I'm gonna go down here and let's see, sort by name. And as you can see, I have all of these training workshop webinar templates. And so typically what we do is I save these Bloodhound templates, and I post. They're posted up with the webinar videos that we post up on the website. Not all of the workshop videos have a template posted up there. It kind of depends on what we worked on. So I'm just going to pick a name and put today's date in there, which is the 22nd. All right, so now I have a name for my template, and now I can start to get going. Let me run through a few other settings here that are specific to Bloodhound. So the racing stripes, Bloodhound's on the chart, so you won't see it, but the racing stripes are the shaded background that you've probably seen by now. So when you get the red shaded background for a short signal and the green one for a long signal. That's what this does. So you can turn it on and off. You can also play a sound, an audio sound alert if you want. And you can click on the button and that'll open up the dialog box. You can go pick your sound. And these, under signals, we have threshold values, and I'll explain that later on once we get going. So I need to have, to really explain it, I need to have Bloodhound on the chart. So, and the rest of everything down here is just standard settings for all indicators. All right, okay, so now we have Bloodhound on the chart down below, and you can see now there's a button that's been added to the chart up top, and there's also this pull down menu for selecting different logic templates. So I'll click on the button and that will bring up the Bloodhound window, and I'm just going to throw an indicator on here real quick just so I can explain what the thresholds do. And you can, it's pretty tough, but you can barely see this threshold line up here and down here. So I'm going to change the color of that so you can see it a little clearer. Change it to white, change this one to white. Alright, so now you can see the white line going across. And you can see the threshold values are set at 0.8. So right here, this line looks at, it's about 0.8, and you can see the maximum number here is 1. So we have 1 for the longs, and we have -1 for the shorts. And so what the threshold value does is it controls when the racing stripes are painted. So whenever Bloodhound's output value here is at 0.8 or greater, it's going to paint the background. And to kind of demonstrate that a little further, let me just quickly modify this setting, and let's try 0.2, 0.2. Yeah, there we go. So you can see as I modified the solver, take that out. There we go. All right, so we can see here as I modified the setting on this one particular bar, even though the slope of the moving average is up, and actually it's an SMA 14, which I don't have on the chart, but just to demonstrate, you can see that Bloodhound's value here just dropped below 0.8, even though we have a long output here. It's the value is not great enough to paint the background. So having that threshold value allows you to control how strong of a signal or how strong of an output value you require for your system in order to paint the background. So that's what the threshold value does. And let's see. I'm just going to take a quick look at some questions before I get going here. All right, so Pat, the Renko hybrid by RJ. Yes, Pat, that bar should work just fine. Actually, let me get back to this. This bar here that I showed is very similar. It actually is just like RJ's bar, but this one has some custom settings in it, so you can control where the open is, and you can control what the reversal percentage is. So And wasn't planning on demoing 1.6, but as you can see, when I modified the higher time frame, this warning on the chart came up. So essentially what we did is we got, for those of you who are already familiar with Bloodhound, we got rid of setup mode and real-time mode, and now it's all just real-time mode, except when you change like a higher secondary time frame. Then you have to refresh the chart. We'll put that back to minutes, and close this and get rid of the warning. Okay, so where we left off last week was I had finished up the change in slope. So today we're going to start with the indicator comparison. And then on the chart, and essentially what that does is it just compares two values to each other. So we have indicator A, which you can think of as, value A, and we have indicator B, which would be value B, and you're just doing some simple comparisons. So is A greater than B? Is A, approximately equal to B, or are they neutral in a sense, or is A less than B? And then you have the large amount and small amount, so you can control how, that way you can control the amount that A has to be greater than B in order to get your signal out. So on the small amount, I could just get like half a point out of Bloodhound. In the neutral, this I'm going to actually demonstrate the neutral here. This one's not commonly used, but this one comes in pretty handy using this neutral. So what I'm going to do is let me first put up the SMA 14. Take off the WMA. And all right, SMA 14. And you'll notice that the default indicator for all of the solvers is the SMA 14. So just for simplicity, that's what I'm going to put up on my chart, and we'll just go with that one. And so what I'm going to do to demonstrate the neutral is, say I want to find out when price is within a certain tick range of the SMA. And I think to better demonstrate this, I'm going to switch over to the CL. And let's see, what contract are we on? I think we're on CL09. See how that goes. So I'm switching to the CL because I want an instrument that has a finer tick value or a smaller tick value, just to help demonstrate the solver a little better. And let's see. No, we're not on the CL9. We're on the CL12. Okay. Let me switch over to the 12. Oh. Looks like my chart locked up. Let's see. Ah, shoot. It looked like NinjaTrader didn't like me switching over to the CL12. Well, let me try and use this chart here. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to set this chart up again real quick. And get the SMA on there. And get Bloodhound on here. And I'm going to open up the template that I had created. There we go. Got that going. Put that on there. There. So I always say try and take advantage of every situation. So that was kind of like my demonstration of how quickly you can set Bloodhound up. So there. I was able to load up my Bloodhound template pretty quickly and get things going again. All right, so let's see. I'm using that 10 range. All right, so just to explain again what I'm looking for to see when the closing price is within a certain value or a certain range of the SMA. So let's see here. Just wondering if I should change the value of my SMA. I think this will work fine. All right. So I'm going to take a look for when price is within 5 ticks of the SMA. So I'm going to have to change indicator A is going to be the price. So I'm going to use the closing price. And then indicator B is the indicator. So I'm comparing the closing price to the indicator, and I'm looking for it to be within 5 ticks. So I'm going to set this to 0, and I'm looking for a neutral. So as long as the closing price is within 5 ticks of the SMA, I'll get an output value. So I'll set this neutral to 1 as well. Set that to 0 and that to 0. So when you're using this comparison solver in this mode, right, you're just looking for the proximity of 2 values to each other, right? So I'm looking for the proximity of closing price to the indicator, and that's a non-directional type of comparison, right? Because you're just looking for proximity. You're not looking for one to be greater than the other. So since it's a non-directional kind of condition, right, you need to set your long output and your short output. And as you can see, we're getting a signal long and short, right? So that way you allow your other solvers and your other conditions to determine what direction to take the trade. So this solver is saying it's okay to take the trade long or short. And then when you combine it with the other solvers, that will actually determine what direction to take the trade. So I could just throw a slope on here, and therefore I'd allow the slope solver to determine what direction to take the trade. So there we go. So now we've got a long signal, and as the indicator rolls over, now we're getting some short signals. Okay. And also, I would suggest that when you add a solver, that as soon as you add the solver, I'd recommend that you name it then. So I'm going to name this one, let's see, I'll call it proximity to SMA. 14. So as I name it, so now I can see what exactly that solver is doing. So I try and give it as short of a name as possible, but not so short that I forget what it means if I go take a look at it a week later. All right, so now let me just, I'm going to copy this, copy that one, and we'll just take a look at some common uses of this solver here. So let's yeah, let me add the stochastics to the chart. Need to recenter my chart. There we go. Okay, so I have my stochastics on the chart, so I'm going to do some comparisons of the stochastics here. And whenever you add an indicator to the chart, or whenever you do anything to the chart that forces the chart to refresh or update, then that closes the Bloodhound window, because remember, Bloodhound is an indicator on the chart. So in order for NinjaTrader to refresh the chart, NinjaTrader has to close the Bloodhound window, and then it can refresh the chart. So I'll just have to click on the button again and bring the Bloodhound window back up. Okay, so this is going to be a stochastics comparison. So I'm going to put this back to indicator and go select my stochastics indicator. Just going to use the default settings. And you can see here that the stochastics has two outputs. And so Bloodhound allows you to select which output you want to use. And what I have on the chart is the D. So I'll just leave the D selected. And down here, I'm going to use an absolute value. And so I want to find out when the stochastics is in the overbought area, which is above 80. So I'll put 80 in there. And so in this case, what I'm looking for is when the indicator, when the stochastics line is greater than 80, I want an output from this solver. So here is A greater than B. Set that to 1. And I need to set this back to 0 ticks, because remember I copied this solver up here. So I need to, so there, have that set back to 0 ticks. And I need to get rid of the neutral, set this neutral to 0, and there, and now you can see that we're getting a long output whenever the stochastic is greater than 80. So there is actually a solver that's better at doing this than using the comparison. So I don't want you to get hung up on this, because you can see that this solver, I can only compare two values to each other, right? So obviously, so you can see I can't compare when the stochastic is in the oversold area. I don't have another value to compare against. And I'll get to this one, but really the threshold solver is better at what I'm kind of demonstrating here. You can see the threshold value has multiple values that I can take an indicator, compare it against. So, but we'll get down to that one. And let's see, let me copy this one, and we'll do another comparison. Let me add a here's probably a more appropriate use of this comparison solver. I'm going to use the BB-MACD. Yeah. There we go. All right, let me change the color so you can see what's going on. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the comparison solver to find these points right here when the Bollinger Band is getting squeezed. Like this. See when the Bollinger Band gets squeezed right there? And also we'll try and find this point right here. See when that gets squeezed. So when you get these squeezes with the Bollinger Band, what that's telling you, essentially what that's trying to find is consolidation. So you can see prices kind of come up and it's not quite, price isn't moving, isn't rising quite as significantly as it was previously here. And so the indicator is kind of saying that, you know, we kind of, price is now kind of consolidating around here, and that's what this squeeze is trying to that's kind of the concept of the part of the Bollinger Bands. And we can see this squeeze over here as well. And you can see we got a little bit of flat consolidation. So we'll find this spot as well. Right, so from a trading standpoint, the reason why you want to find these consolidations is usually that means that's the setup for the next move. And you can see price just took off. And right here, well, price didn't do much, but it did start a very small pullback. So after that, all right, so let's find those squeeze points. All right, so I want to give this a name. Call it the BB MACD squeeze. So what I'm going to be comparing is I'm looking for, once again, I'm looking for the proximity of the upper band to the lower band. So I'll change my indicator to the BB-MACD. And this time I'm going to select the upper band for both the long and short. And for indicator B, I'll select the indicator and select the lower band. There's the lower band. Now, all right, so I'm going to take a moment to kind of explain the settings that the large amount and small amount use. So you can see I've been using the ticks. That's because previously I was working up in the price range. But now I'm working on an indicator in the subchart, and so it's not working in ticks. It's actually working in points. So from 0 to 5 is 5 points for this indicator. Not to be confused with, points on the price chart, but points on this indicator. So I need to set this value to points. And I'm going to take an approximation here. Looks like these squeezes are somewhere about, I don't know, 2, 3 to 4 points. So let's take a look at 3 points and see how that works out. And but first I need to set my outputs correctly. So we're looking for the two values to be within proximity of each other. So once again, that's a neutral, using the neutral output, or the neutral comparison. Alright, so there we go. And I'm going to actually knock this down even more to 2 points. Yeah, there we go. So 2 points looks pretty good. So now you can see this squeeze is marked, this one got marked, and that one got marked. And this is actually a pretty good instrument to experiment with. We'll do some more comparisons here. First, let me change this color. Actually, red's okay. I'll just make the line a little thicker. Alright, so now I'll set up a comparison, and we'll take a look at when the Bollinger, or the MACD line, is above the Bollinger, is above one of the bands. So I'm going to use this one. Just copy it. And you'll notice that what I'm doing is I'm unchecking the other solvers, because if I check the other solvers, what it does is it turns them on, and you can see how the output changes. So now Bloodhound is using all 4 solvers to build its output. But I only want to look at just the one solver that I'm demonstrating. So I can just remove the checkbox and turn them off. Okay, so I'm going to look for when the BB line is above the upper channel line. So I have the indicator already selected. I just need to change what I'm looking for. All right, so I want to compare the BB line, MACD BB line. So I'm comparing that value to the upper and the lower band. So I'm going to look for when the BB line is also below the band. And I need to set this back to 0. So now I'm B. So now I can demonstrate how to use the long and the short. So when the BB/MACD line is above the upper, I want a long signal. All right, so when it's above the upper, I want a long signal. And when it's below the lower band, I want a short signal. And so here we go. It's already selected. So I'm using 2 different outputs for my, to achieve my long and short in this case. All right, so my long outputs I want A to be greater than B. A, remember A is the BB MACD line. So when A is greater than B and B is the channel, the upper channel line, I want a long output. There you go. Now you can see the longs are marked whenever the BB line is above. And for the shorts, right, I'm looking for A. I'm looking for indicator A, or the BB line, to be less than the lower channel, or less than indicator B. So we're going to use this down here. Set that to 1. And there's our shorts marked. So there we go. And now if, let's see, and I should rename this, shouldn't I? Let's see. So I'll call it just above and below. Now if I turn on the other solver here, where I'm looking for the squeezes, so now I have the squeeze solver turned on, and the BB line above or below, and there, now you can see I've got some signals coming out. So we got a squeeze with the BB line above, and so when you combine them both together, we got a long signal. Right, so you can see, if you look at the output here, you can see there's like this running 0.5 output. All this in here is 0.5. Right, so, and you can see here, you know, we have the short and this long. Essentially, you know, this is 0.5 on the output. And so that is coming from this solver here. I'm sorry, yeah, this solver here, right? Where it's looking for the MACD, the BB MACD to be above or below, right? So we can see that we're getting longs when the MACD BB is above, and we're getting the shorts marked right here when it's below. And then when this solver, when the squeeze solver gives its output, then when you add the two together, then that's when we get this output of 1. So if I slide this over, there. So now you can see the chart marker is 1 on the Bloodhound's output. And if I step forward, you can see the output now is 0.5. So what Bloodhound did is it took, right, Bloodhound's output totals 1 or -1. So it took 1 and it divided it by 2 solvers that are enabled. All right, so 1 divided by 2 is 1/2, or 0.5. Now if I add a third solver on here, and if I step forward, well, let me step back actually. So now we can see Bloodhound's output for this one solver. So this output here, I can tell is coming from the MACD, or yeah, from the BB MACD, because it's above the channel. You can see the output's a third. Right, so I have 3 solvers turned on. So you take 1 divided by 3 for 1/3. So you can see that Bloodhound is creating a ratio for every solver that I have turned on that I'm using. And what it's doing is it's just adding them together. So each solver is worth 1/3, and it's just adding them all together. So when all 3 solvers have their output of 1, then when you add them all together, you do get a total of 1 for the output. So if I step back, you can see I have 1/3. So the MACD, the BB MACD is above the channel, so I get, so that one solver has an output. If I step forward, Now I think let's see what is stochastic. Yeah. So now we have the stochastic is above 80. So this solver is true. And the one solver that's not firing is the squeeze. And, oh, here we go. Look, looks like we actually have all three firing. All right, so when we have one solver that's met its criteria, we get a third, and if we get two, we get 2/3. And then when all three solvers meet their criteria, we get a 1 on the output for a signal. So that's an explanation of how Bloodhound creates, assembles its output. Now when you start using the logic tab, that changes the whole ballgame again. So what I'm demonstrating on the solver tab, kind of most of that goes out the window when you start using a logic tab, because then you have logic nodes that start taking over control of the output. But if you're only using the solver tab only, then it's just a Bloodhound just uses a simple ratio of however many solvers you have in use. All right, I can see some questions coming in out of the corner of my eye, so let me kind of address some of them. I see Jeremy's answering them for you guys, so let me just read through these quickly. And Gabor, just oh yeah, Gabor, you were right. I was looking too quickly. Normally what I do, just for you new guys, what I do is I keep this market analyzer going with the instruments on it, and I keep the volume, the daily volume, as the main column I'm looking for. And so some of these instruments, like the CL and some gold, you know, they kind of have weird switchover dates, and the contract months aren't consistent. They're not always evenly spaced. And so what I'll do is you can see on the CL I have the 9, 10, and the 12, and I just keep an eye on the volume. And whatever contract has the highest volume, that's the one that's the current contract being traded. So yeah, see, I put 12.12 up there, but actually I can see that 10.12 on the CL has the highest volume. So that's the current contract. So thanks, Gabor. Let me switch this over. All right, let me take a look through some of these other questions. So Doug asked the question, does Bloodhound place trades according to strategies? Actually, Doug, it's kind of backwards. You can see Jeremy gave a great answer. So Bloodhound is an indicator. And just to explain to you guys that are kind of new to NinjaTrader, indicators don't place trades. Indicators only provide data on the chart. So primarily, indicators are doing comparisons or mathematical formulas. So they're just taking price action, and they're applying mathematical formulas or conditional conditional comparisons, and they're coming out with another value, another numerical value. And so indicators don't place trades. Strategies is the component that places a trade. So strategies are what enters you into a trade. They move your stops, they create your stops, create your profits. They move your stops, they can move your profit targets. So anything related to trade management is what strategies do. So Bloodhound is an indicator, and you feed your indicators into your strategies to tell the strategies what to do, in a sense. So, and it was, let's see, last week or 2 weeks ago, I did a demonstration again on SI Raven. So, Doug, if you're interested in strategies, look on our website and go to our workshop videos, our webinar section, and look back, I think, 2 weeks. And then there's another, the original workshop where we profiled SI Raven, or Raven, which I think is probably about 4 weeks ago. You'll see that, so there's 2 workshops where I demonstrate how to use Raven. So Raven is the strategy component, and as you can see, added on here, you can see that it has a Bloodhound section built right into it, and so you can load up your Bloodhound templates and everything. Oh. All right, I'm going to look at a few more questions here. There's a couple more left to go. And Doug, yes, Bloodhound does backtest. You can run Bloodhound in Strategy Analyzer, and you can also run Raven on your chart. And of course, if you have a strategy on your chart, right, you can analyze the strategy performance. So, and of course, you can see the historical trades that NinjaTrader places on your chart as well. All right. Got through all the questions? Okay, so I'm going to continue on to the next solver then. All right, so after comparison, we have crossover. Crossover is pretty simple. So I got about half an hour left here. We like to try and wrap this up around 12 o'clock. So, so the crossover one ought to be pretty simple to demonstrate. But first, well, yeah, I think I'll just jump into, I guess, an uncommon crossover situation. So what I'm going to use is this BB-MACD again. And I'm going to look for a crossover. I'm going to look for the BB-MACD line to cross over the upper channel and cross below the lower channel. So let me let me give this a name first. All right, so BB-MACD, and it's going to be upper and a lower crossover. So I'll set this indicator up, and we want, right, so typically the way you want to set the crossover solver up is you want indicator A to kind of be your primary indicator, or typically your fastest moving indicator, which is determining the direction of the trend. So in this case with the BB-MACD, that's going to be the BB line. So that's already selected as default. Okay. And so I'm looking for So the BB line is my primary line, or indicator A, and I'm going to be looking for it to cross the upper and lower bands. And so the bands will be indicator B. And so when the BB line crosses above the upper, I'm going to look for a long. And when it crosses below the lower, I want a short output. And you can see it was just that simple. So here, I'm going to stretch the bars out. So we can see when the BB line crosses below the band, the lower band, there's our short, and it crosses above, here's our long. So pretty much that simple. Let me do one. Let's see. I'll do one where we're looking for price crossing this SMA line. So let me add another one on the chart. So this is going to be price to SMA 14. So price is going to be my primary value that I'm looking at. So it'll be indicator A, so I'm going to set that to price, the closing price. And the SMA 14 is on there by default. And so there we go. Price crossed below, there's our short. Price crossed above, there's our long. Yep. Let's I'll do another one here on the MACD. So let's look for a short when the stochastic, sorry, not the MACD, the stochastic, when the stochastic crosses below the oversold and crosses, let me shrink this up. And when price crosses above the oversold, we'll get a long. So call this the stochastic 80-20. So let me change my indicator. And we're going to be using the D plot. And for indicator B, that's right. I can only. That's right. I can only. I'm going to have to use two different solvers to do this. So I'll do the crossover of the stochastic crossing down below 80. So I'm going to put this on absolute value, put this on 80. And oh, there we go. I have two solvers turned on. There we go. Okay, so now you can see, because I'm using an absolute value and I can't specify whether that's a long or a short, you know, like I can do with the indicator, right? I can specify whether it's a long or a short, but with the absolute value, I'm getting longs when we're crossing above the 80, and I'm getting shorts when we're crossing below 80. But I only want the shorts when we're crossing below 80 for this one. So let me just rename this guy to stochastic 80, and usually I put an S for short, or I put an L for long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to constrain the output. So in the behavior section, you can see I have this evaluate. So right now I'm evaluating both the longs and shorts, and I can set this to shorts only. And there. So now the longs was taken off of that solver. And there's my shorts. And so now what I can do is I can copy this guy and just change my name to represent what it does. Change this to 20, and then set the evaluate to long only. And there we go. And of course I have two solvers turned on. We turn off the shorts. Okay, and there's the longs. So you can see that, as I demonstrated earlier, when I have two solvers turned on, each solver is worth a half or 0.5 on the output. So you can see I'm getting the signals out, but of course it's not painting the background because the output is not reaching the threshold. So if I shrink this here, you can see here's the threshold lines. So let me go change those back to white as I had on the other chart. Okay, so there's the threshold values. This line up here and this one down here. So if I really wanted to demonstrate this working, or if I wanted to demonstrate painting the background, right, I can set my thresholds to 0.5, and there we go. So now we're painting the background, or we have our racing stripes. Then you can see the threshold line moved down now to 0.5. All right. Well, guys, let's take a look at the next solver here. The next one is going to be inflection. All right, this is a simple one. So we'll go through this one. I've got 20 minutes left here. All right. Inflection is, let's see, so once again, the indicator defaults to the SMA 14. So we put that on there, SMA 14. And okay, let me shrink all these indicators down. Oh, there we go. Actually, I was working with an SMA 10. That's right. I set it. It was the other chart. I had to set it up to 14. So, okay, SMA 14. There we go. Now it's making sense. All right. So now you can see the SMA as it reverses direction on the bar after it reverses direction. You can see we have a long from the inflection solver. And as the SMA reverses down, we have a short from the coming out of the solver. That's simply what the inflection solver is doing, is it's just looking for these reversal points. So another good indicator to use it on would be like the MACD. the stochastics. So let me use this on the stochastics. So I'll copy that down, rename this guy, and switch this over to the stochastics. And I'm using the D plot, so that's right. And there we have it. All right, so stochastic reverses down, you get a short. Stochastic turns back up, reverses back up, and you get a long. So the inflection solver is pretty simple. Let's see. There, we kind of show some of these other output settings that we have here. So we can see in the crossover, right? Typically, what we're using is the in direction. And you can see we have crosses against direction, and same on the inflection solver. We have against direction. We have this slope in direction, which is set to 1 right now, and then we have the slope against direction. So we kind of demonstrate what the against direction means in the output section. All right, so let me show you the crossover solver again. So here is the against direction. There's the crosses against direction, right? So on the inflection solver, if I set this to 0, set that to 1, and wrong one. Set that to 1, and you can see what it did. What it did is it just flipped the longs to shorts and the shorts to longs. So you can see it just reversed the output. Right. So that's a true reversal of the output. Whereas on all the solvers, right, you see we have this behavior section and we have an invert. So this is a true invert. So if I put this back to normal, so there's a normal operation mode. And if I invert, you can see it's a true invert. So this used to be a long, but now it's a short. And where there was no output, in between the inflection points, right, there was no output. Well, now the output has been inverted, so you get a long and a short, which is a true invert. So I just want to demonstrate the difference between an invert and in a sense, reversing the signal. That's an invert. And this, so if you use the, if you use the against direction output, that reverses the signal. You can see I have a long and short now. I can turn this off, set it to 0, and it reverses the output. And the same with the crossover. So let's use, I think, this solver here. Yeah, so we're looking at, so when price crosses the SMA, we're using this one. So we can see on the crossover solver, we have a crosses against direction, right? So we have so when price crosses below the SMA, we get a short, and I can reverse that to a long. There we go. Now it's a long signal. So that reverses the direction of the signal. And then if I use the invert, there you go, inverted it. All right. I kind of went through the crossover a little too quickly, so let me jump back to the crossover and show some other features here available on the crossover. You can see it has this look back period. So right now it's set to 1. You can see we only have one bar being painted for the signal. So if I set this to 5, you can see, so now we have 5 bars painted. So what it does is it looks back 5 bars to check for this condition. So on this bar here, it can look back 5 bars, right? So it can go look back and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have this crossing. And so if we look back 5 bars, you can see this crossing being met. And you can see right, and so here's a good demonstration. Stretch this out. So here you can see we crossed above, got a long, and then crossed below, got a short, and then crossed above and got a long. And so you can see as it's looking back at the most recent crossing. So this cross above long signal is the one that's going to get extended out 5 bars. Right. And so if you're using this look back feature, as you know, that if you extend a signal out too long, the chances are that your chances of opportunity of getting into the trade, into a successful trade, kind of decrease, right? So obviously, if you did want to trade this crossover, obviously you'd want to get long as soon as possible. If you got long way back here, well, you're almost at the end of this up move. So so if you want to use this feature to extend the crossover signal out, you'll see that there is this option here, output decreases as crossover ages. So what you can do is if I set this to 0.1, it's going to decrease the output by 0.1 on every bar after the crossover. So you can see that the output, we have a 1. Let me slide this bar forward. So we can see Bloodhound's output here is 1, and as I step forward, it drops down to 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, so on and so forth. And so what it's doing is, it's diminishing the confidence of that signal. So what that means is that other solvers will kind of have to pick up the slack in a sense. So other solvers will still have to have a good, strong signal coming out of them in order to get into this trade really late. All right. So if you wanted, if a part of your system, wanted to get into this trade, say 5 bars after the crossing, you really need to have your other solvers, which are permitting the trade as well. They really have to have a good, strong signal out in combination with this crossover. Yeah, so here's something that's unique to the crossover. Let me set this back to 1. Okay, so there's our standard settings. You can see we have this no crosses. Set that to 1. And in a sense that that kind of inverts the output, but it's not a true invert. But you can see that whenever there's no crossing, we have an output, and so you can kind of use this to see if there's a bunch of chop going on. So you can see the price crossed below. So there was a crossing there on this bar, and there's no output from Bloodhound. And then price crossed above, and then it crossed below. So there's no signal here. So you could use that to kind of determine if you're in a choppy situation. And I could, I don't know, extend that out for 5 bars. So what this kind of does is it creates this filter. So if price is just kind of chopping around your moving average a little bit, right? This solver is not going to have an output, so it won't let you take a trade. And then when price finally kind of gets in a trend here, you can see that solver has an output, so you can either take a long or a short, whatever your system determines. Oh. This probably wouldn't be the best solver to do that, but just an example. So, yeah, here we go. So we got this chop zone here, got filtered out just by using a look back of 3. Filtered it all out. All right, well, guys, it is almost 12 o'clock. So let me see if there's any more questions. All right, you're welcome, Randy. I'm glad to see you in the room a lot. That's encouraging to us. All right, well, I don't see any other questions. So I guess that means you guys need to get out there and use Bloodhound and drag up some questions. Either I completely lost you, or I guess you guys don't quite have enough experience with Bloodhound to come up with some questions, but that's okay. So you're always welcome to ask your questions by email if you wish. So let me kind of go through the various support options that we have. Various support methods. I'm going to bring up the website. Oh, let me shrink this down a little bit. All right, so we do have a YouTube channel. So I have a Shark Indicators YouTube channel. So we post up all of our videos on our website are hosted by YouTube. So you can just go directly to YouTube if you want. And you can look at our workshops. So let's see here. Fully automated trading. When was this one? A month ago? Yeah, so see who was asking the question? Doug. So Doug, you'd probably be interested in watching this fully automated trading, which demos Raven. And all right, so back on our home page here, various support methods. Go to support, and go to contact us. Come on. And you can ask your question here, subject line, your question, and of course, you need your name and email so we can respond back to you. You don't have to have your phone number, but and using this form here creates a ticket that both Jeremy and I can both see. So whichever one of us gets to your question first, one of us will answer you back. And if you have any, say like if you're working on your system and you'd like to have a private appointment with me, you can book an appointment with me. Or if you'd like a little more structured training, whatever it may be, If you have a complicated question, you can book an appointment with me. Clicking the button, and this will take you to an appointment booker page. So just put your time zone in here, and it'll translate the times I'm available to your time zone. So I'll just leave it on Eastern just to demonstrate. And so what you can do is say you want to meet this coming Saturday. There's the times that I'm available in your time zone. So you can see up here it's Eastern time. So this would be the times that I'm available for Eastern time zone. And I ask that you pick two different times in case I can't meet your first one. You know, say like if you want to have one at lunchtime. But if I'm unavailable, then I ask that you select a second time, preferably not right after the next one. What would be better is if either you pick later on in the day, or you can pick another day. So you could try Sunday. Try Sunday at noon. What that does is it gives me two different options here. In case your first choice, in case for some reason I can't make your first choice, then I'll book the appointment for your second choice. You can see that your selections show up down here. So. And you can cross them out if you change your mind. All right, so we can try Sunday there, and we could try Monday, Monday morning, or Monday at lunchtime. So, it looks like the Monday one isn't showing up for some reason. But then you can hit next, and it'll send me a request, and I'll set it up. I'll send you back an email with the confirmation and the GoToMeeting link to join the room. So let me go back to the Shark Indicators page. And you can take a quick link. This is a link to our support center, which is our ticket system. And there's so you can do a quick search, like let's see, if you're working with the stochastics, you can do a search for stochastics, and you can see there's a couple of postings up there looking for, I guess they have the keyword stochastics in them. So here we go, applying the indicator threshold to stochastics. Click on that, and you can see this is a tutorial I did. I was answering a customer's questions and put up a screenshot tutorial of how to accomplish that. So if you click up here, you can go to the support forums, and that you can see here it lists all the support forums. And so the tips and tricks section essentially is a bunch of tutorials. So these are previous customers that had specific questions. So this one got asked a lot. How do you do a double crossover? And it actually applies to the stochastics, I believe. So, yeah. So this is the one I just demonstrated for you today. Right? So this is stochastics, crossing below the oversold and crossing above the oversold and crossing below the overbought. Sorry. So. So let me get back to the home page. Yeah, so when you submit a question on the Contact Us page, it actually sends it to that ticket system, to that website I just showed you. So, all right, and also under here, you can see we have documentation on all the solvers. There's some video tutorials. So for those of you who are new, there's a quick start guide. There's one on the Bloodhound interface and a few tutorials. This is still a work in progress. So, and you'll also see these download buttons. So the green ones are for the Bloodhound templates. Right, so once again, the Bloodhound templates is essentially, it's these template names here. So if you click on File, you can see these are all the Bloodhound templates. Right, so these are what will load up your solvers here. And also, so the template keeps track of everything, so it keeps track of your logic templates as well. And then the red buttons are the chart templates. So these are NinjaTrader's chart templates. So if you right-click on the chart and you want to load up a template, so these are the chart templates here. And this right here tells you where to save the file when you're downloading it. So Bloodhound chart templates go into NinjaTrader 7 templates and then the charts directory. And also this will link you back to the tips and tricks section that I showed you earlier. And then if you wanted to watch some earlier webinars, you could watch them from our website, or of course you can go back to our YouTube channel. And so here you can see the recorded webinars, and if I go to the automated trading one for Raven, so if you use the website, you'll see a brief description of what the webinar is. And also you'll see that there's the templates as well. So the Bloodhound template and the NinjaTrader chart template. So the convenience of the chart template is as long as you have the Bloodhound template downloaded first, and of course you have to have the indicators installed on NinjaTrader. I try not to use any custom indicators, but for example, like this BBMACD, this I got off of Big Mike's training forums, so this is available to you guys. So the convenience of this chart template, for those of you who are new to NinjaTrader, is it loads up all the indicators, and it also loads up Bloodhound with the correct template loaded as well. So this is just a huge, convenient time saver, having these chart templates. Well, that essentially is it. I have to show you the documentation real quick. The documentation is good. So you can see all the solvers are listed right here on the right. And so if I click on one of these, all of these documentations have examples on them. So you can see here's a quick link that will link me to the examples. And you can see there's a screenshot tutorial with several examples. So in general, the more complicated the solver is, the more examples I gave, like the support resistance has several different ways of using it. So if we jump down to the examples, right, there's example 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 2C, and so on. Hopefully these examples kind of help explain some of this dry technical explanation of what the solver does. So, all right, guys. I think I'll just wrap it up with that. So, and Jeremy, any last words there?
Just want to again remind you guys that this September 1st again we're going to be hosted by NinjaTrader in a webinar which is going to summarize the not so much the nuts and bolts of Bloodhound, but what it can do for you on kind of a high-level basis. And lastly, if you are interested and you didn't get the link for 1.06 to beta test it, again, 1.06 allows the NinjaTrader ATM to be used in your strategies for within SI Raven. Just shoot us an email in the support, and we'll get that link off to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, have yourself a great week, and again, don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. And thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.